In other news, understanding the mental health aspect of the gun violence conversation. It's something Alabama's 21st Century Firearms Task Force is addressing. In part 2 of our 3-part series, Capital Journal's Karen Brown takes a closer look at a program designed to help decrease the number of suicides.
When Dr. Vars got up there, and his information that 40% of the suicides by gun, 40% of those suicide victims went and purchased that gun the day of the suicide or the day before.
Dr. Fred Vars is a senior law professor at the University of Alabama. He spoke to the state's Firearms Task Force about a suicide prevention program.
3.5 years ago, Cheryl Hanna was a successful law professor. She was married with 2 children, but Hanna was privately battling severe depression. She twice voluntarily admitted herself to a hospital for psychiatric treatment. Shortly after her second hospitalization, she legally bought a handgun and used it the next day to kill herself.
Vars says people like Cheryl Hanna should have the option to make it more difficult for them to purchase a firearm during a suicidal crisis.
What if we allowed people to put their own names into the existing background check system in order to slow down future gun purchases? The sign-up process would be voluntary and confidential. People could have their names removed from the system by a simple request, no questions asked, just with a short waiting period.
He adds this program could have saved Mrs. Hanna's life.
So I had a painful conversation with Cheryl Hanna's husband just a few months after her death. She would have signed up. Her suicidal impulses were exactly the reason for those voluntary hospitalizations I mentioned. She'd actually sat in her car outside a gun shop contemplating buying a gun to commit suicide. The very course of action, a few weeks later, she couldn't resist.
For Capital Journal, I'm Karen Brown.
Names of people who are involuntarily committed to a mental institution are added to the pistol background check denied person file. We'll be right back.